Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to Eckern Park, beautiful Pigeon Falls, Wisconsin. We would like to thank the community for hosting us this year. It's wonderful that the Relay for Life of Trempealeau County is not just a single city site event. It's fun to travel around just a little bit, and it's been a nice setting. Thank you for coming out in the heat, and don't blame you for sitting where you're sitting, wherever you're sitting in the shade, and we'll just kind of continue on with our ceremony. I'd like to do just a little bit of a historical update. If you have never been to a Relay for Life before, back in 1985 in Tacoma, Washington, a gentleman who was an oncologist, a doctor of oncology, Dr. Gordon Klatt, decided that he wanted to do something to raise money to increase awareness of cancer, in order to do more research, do more advocacy, those types of things. So he decided he would run for 24 hours and raise money. And so back in 1985, he raised about $5,000 on his own accord. Had a few friends that ran with him for parts of his 24 hours. But he began this whole movement that has actually, bloomed out throughout the entire world. And the Relay for Life has changed for us. We used to do an all-nighter, but over the years we kind of decided that it was more important, I think, to do the things that are the important parts of it. Celebrate, remember, and fight back. Celebrating those of us who have had a cancerous experience and have lived through it. Remembering those who have died from their cancer experience. And then fighting back is a part that we hope that everybody pays attention to their bodies. And if you find something a little bit wrong, go to the doctor and start asking questions. My journey to cancer was, I discovered that I couldn't empty my bladder as fast as I used to. And I went to actually a Boy Scout physical, and I had my PSA checked, and PSA normal is between 1 and 4. Mine was 11.4. And so that began my journey. So we are here, and right now we're going to do the celebrate portion of it. And we're going to start out with honoring America by having our color guard and our royalty are coming out tonight to sing the national anthem. And I think Chris is going to play a version of the national anthem. Nobody's rehearsed it, so it will be interesting and wonderful at the same time. So please stand, remove your hats, stand as you're able, and remove your hats.
Streaming.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
So I'm going to back up a little bit here and say welcome to everyone. We're so glad that you could join us tonight to kick cancer out of the park. First of all, I have to say thank you to everyone that donated to our challenge. That was so exciting watching the numbers crawl up until we reached our goal. For those of you that didn't know about our challenge, we had an awesome, very generous, anonymous donor that said they would give us up to $4,000 if we could raise that amount in 2 weeks. Guess what? We took that challenge seriously, and thank you to all our great communities. We met that $4,000 and we went on. We all know that cancer touches us all, one way or another, so we are so thankful you all joined us in the challenge. Thank you. So now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker tonight. They are sisters from ACO, and they even started their own team. They promoted relay at the ACO parade last weekend. We are so thankful they have joined us. Thank you, ladies. So now let's get on with the program. I'd like to introduce our survivor speaker, Brenda Larson from ACO, to share with us her journey.
As Mary said, my name's Brenda Larson, and probably a lot of you know Brenda Larson by name because there's a bunch of us around. But I was born in Eau Claire, grew up in Augusta, and have lived near Osseo and is the Cajon subdivision. They call it Tickyville. So if you ever heard that, that's where that is. And I've been there for the 40 plus years now. And just to put my type of cancer in perspective, I need to tell you that I'm almost 65. 12 years ago, I was diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma, which is one of the most common type of skin cancers, along with squamous cell carcinoma. When most people hear that you had skin cancer, they assume that you were a sun worshiper. I think my sister laid out tanning in the sun more than I did, but she has not developed any basal cell yet. As a teenager, I remember laying out in the sun while I was in high school just to get some color in my legs because they didn't tan and they had to burn first. But back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, kids and adults were still tanning in the sun and in tanning beds, which people thought were safer than the sun. And I had the same notion. I have used a tanning bed, but I hadn't used it for years and I hadn't used it for months at a time. I only did it for a short period of time to get some desired results, like for a Mexico trip, so I wouldn't burn there, and a wedding or two. Never did I ever think of using sunscreen, had I even known it existed as I was growing up. When my 3 daughters were born in the mid-'80s, I don't remember making them wear sunscreen every time they went outside, maybe at the beach or at a pool. And now that I have 6 grandchildren, that's all my daughters preach, sunscreen, sunscreen. I usually remember, once in a while I forget, and then I'm in, the doghouse, but that's what happens with grandmas. My daughters now are ages 36, 38, and 40, and their goal as kids and even young adults was to always be tan, because that always made them look more beautiful in their opinion, although one was much worse than the other 2. They were all on their own when I was diagnosed, so they didn't see the immediate effects of the surgery. But I had pictures that the surgeon took, and I made sure they saw them. I think, though, that one never did, and so she still does a little more tanning than the others. It was a gruesome sight to see, though. I brought the pictures with, though, if anybody wants to take a look. With superficial basal cell carcinoma, the Mohs procedure is usually used. With this procedure, a surgeon or a dermatologist peels off 1 or 2 layers, then looks at them under a microscope to see if there are still cancer cells present. When they get a clean slide, the surgery is over. A couple of weeks ago, I was kind of flipping through channels, one of my husband's favorite things to do. I came across a show called Dr. Pimple Popper. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever seen that, and she doesn't pop pimples on TV. But she is a dermatologist, a leading dermatologist, and she deals with different kinds of cysts and with cancers. And on her episode, she actually shows the removal of these things. So you have to have a fairly decent stomach to watch. But on this particular episode, there was a gentleman with a sore on his face, and it was right beneath his eye. And he said that it would open up and bleed sometimes. So my first thought was, basal cell carcinoma. And I was right. The doctor went on to say that the procedure most often used is Mohs. And so then I began to watch. She added that when she does the Mohs surgery, she also maps each layer. So she knows where to go back so that she doesn't have to take more layers off or more parts of the layers off than needed, but rather just the part that still has the cancer in it. So if you haven't seen the Whitehall Times, I should tell you that my cancer was here on my nose. It started as a small sore on the side, and it almost looked like a blood blister. It would scab over, and then it would clear up, but it'd come back. And after the third time, with the urging of my electrolysis technician, who was a nurse, I brought it to the attention of my doctor. I was fortunate because when my doctor did the original biopsy, she inadvertently caught all of the cancer. So when I had the Mohs surgery, only one layer was removed. Most people don't see where I had it, and that's all due to the way the procedures were. In the past, cutting the cancer out would have left a hole that the skin would have just been pulled over and stitched closed, and this would have left my nose like a nostril way up and my nose real crooked, and they just don't do that anymore. If you look at my pictures, the stitches actually aren't just into one spot where I had the cancer, they run all the way down and around my nose, and that was to pull the skin evenly so that I won't look so goofy. I mean, goofier than I look now. The night after surgery, I had cotton up both my nostrils because I wasn't allowed to breathe through my nose. Sleeping in the recliner wasn't too uncomfortable until I'd doze off because my mouth would close so I couldn't breathe, and then I'd wake up. And then I would doze again, my mouth would close, and I'd wake up. And that's how my night went. But I think I only had to use pain medication that first night. Actually, the most painful part of the surgery was numbing the nose. If any of you find yourself in this position, don't ever opt to be awake and suffer those injections. At the time, I was not offered an alternative, and other people that I talked to at the time agreed with me on that painful point. Besides the pain, the injections leave you with raccoon eyes. Do yourself a favor and have a general anesthetic instead. Now I see my dermatologist every year for a visual body scan. She uses dermoscopy, looking for basal cells and squamous cells, and at moles to rule out melanoma. It looks like, if you go to the doctor and they shine that light in your ear, that's kind of what this scope looks like. But then I'll watch her. If she comes across something she sees suspicious, she turns up the magnification and she gets right down in there and looks really close at it, and then she'll say, I guess that's okay. And that's what I really like to hear. Sometimes she'll say, it's a little shiny, maybe we better do something with that, it looks a little suspicious. And so then, usually about every 2 years, I'll get another spot, but it'll be just one of those suspicious spots, and then she removes those. They've been on my neck and my chest, and she's used 2 different methods to remove those on me. The most common was cryotherapy, and that uses liquid nitrogen, and she just sprays it right on the spot, and it freezes it and destroys the abnormal cells. It stings as she does it, and then it kind of blisters up, gets crusty, and peels off, and you're done. Usually then that area would be a little bit lighter in color. The last treatment she gave me was a cream called Fluorosil, and it just comes in a tube, and I was supposed to apply it to the area twice a day for at least 3 weeks, or until I couldn't take the pain. And she said some people can go the full 3 weeks, some people can't last that long, but I did it for the 3 weeks, and I don't remember it being terribly painful, but it was gone when I went back for my next exam, and that was back in 22. These yearly exams are scheduled a year in advance, and it just happened that my appointment was last week, and I'm happy to report that she found nothing this time. I have quite a few moles on my body that she checks, but none of them have been cancerous, but I keep an eye on them. For me though, I watch for those sores that don't heal like they should, or they recur. This is my first Relay for Life since COVID. Prior to that, I was attending the Clark County one in support of my sister that helped with the planning. Hence the many purple t-shirts that I have. I'm always disappointed though when I'm out walking and I'm in the sun with no hat. From all these other walkers. But hopefully they have on sunscreen. And around ACO, they know me because I'm always wearing a hat. There comes that hat lady. I have hats of many colors and styles. I laid out a bunch of hats down here. Most of those are the ones that I have at home. I have hats up north there at trailer, my fishing hats, my straw hats, they got the thing. And the thing that I have to look for is the size of the brim. Now I brought a couple hats up here. You see this one? It's a very dressy, pretty hat. But you see the brim? No good. No good, too small. And it's just for inside dresses because it doesn't do you any good outside. I like to golf, and this is my golfing hat. It's the only one I have that has the sweatband inside. And I'll tell you, when I don't have this hat with me and I'm golfing, it's bad. You need that sweatband. And so they come that way, or you can add them. My hat's down here. Some are open top like this one, and they can curl up and I can set them on the table beside me. I've looked for purple hats since I started doing relays. My daughter found this and gave it to me for Christmas this past Christmas. Otherwise, purple hats with 4-inch brims are not very common. I'd have to check with her. I think she ordered it from somewhere. When I'm golfing, I always wear my golfing hat. I have my sunscreen. Oh, I was going to grab that. And then I wear sunglasses, which I'm surprised I can read with here. I use a spray sunscreen to my arms, neck, and feet because I wear sandals. And I still don't put anything on my legs because they are white all year long. Same when I'm in the fishing boat. Now with my, another thing that my dermatologist wants me to do is wear the sunglasses because my eyes are more susceptible. And you can have cancer anywhere. And it's real common to have basal cell on your eyelids even. So it's always a good idea to have sunglasses when you're outside. And then I watch for sunscreen that contains Helioplex. And that's what she recommended to use. And actually my spray is a 70. And she just mentioned too that people that are real fair and they burn real easy, they've actually come out now, it's been very recent, a pill that they can take, and I think it's a 1-a-day thing that helps reduce the burning. There's no, it hasn't been studied enough to know if it actually prevents any cancer, but it helps cut down on the burning. And so if you are in that position, you should probably check with your doctor and find out about that. She wrote the name of it down for me. I can't say it, but I do have it written down here in my notes. So if anybody wants to know, just stop over and see, and I can let you know what that is. Even though I wear a hat all the time, I still need sun. And I truly believe that some sun is good for uplifting your mood, and everybody needs that. I don't need extended periods, just a minute or two here or there. I might walk out to the mailbox to get a little sun, and sometimes I'll just let the sun warm my back, right through my shirt. For me, that's relaxing, and that's what I need to keep my spirit up. My only regret in this whole ordeal came shortly after the original diagnosis. My sister-in-law, who had lost her eye to cancer, came to offer me support. And, because she said, oh, you have that C word, I know you've got to be stressed out. And I was kind of flippant, and I didn't accept her support because my cancer seemed so minor compared to hers. But her cancer metastasized to her liver, and she died. And I never told her how much I appreciated her concern. I have come to realize that maybe she needed to talk to me more for her than actually for me. A lesson learned too late that's still hard to deal with. I hope that each of you can take something to heart from what I have talked about. My goal was to encourage you to make some small changes in your life to better protect you and your family. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be our caregiver, Cindy Simpson, and she is her sister. Here, come on out and join us. It's all good.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Cindy Simpson. When I was asked about being the caregiver speaker, I was hesitant, not only because of my fear of public speaking, but because our story had already been told at previous relays. However, it was for a different county, the Clark County Relay for Life, where my husband spoke as a survivor and my daughter and I as caregivers. I have been involved with the Relay for Life for over 25 years. I started by joining a team through my workplace, and I was hooked. My husband, daughter, and son all became part of the Relay family, our extended family. Little did we know, years later, we would be on the other side, needing the American Cancer Society's care in fighting cancer firsthand. In 2012, my husband, Don Simpson, got the dreaded news. We decided to start a new relay team of family and friends at that time, hence our team, Simpson Stride. He was the survivor speaker that year. He had just been diagnosed with multiple myeloma. It's a cancer of the blood that affects bone strength. He started with broken ribs and multiple spine fractures. He underwent vertebroplasties, where they cement vertebrae together. He had injection and oral chemotherapies, a stem cell transplant, and platelet and blood transfusions. So many doctor appointments, hospital stays, sleepless nights, good days, bad days. As a caregiver, it can be overwhelming, as I'm sure many of you out there can relate to. Just know you are not alone. We are all in this fight together, whether having cancer, knowing someone with cancer, or caring for someone with cancer. We are all part of this relay family, this community, and we need to care for each other. In 2016, the day after my husband passed, my son, my daughter, and I attended the relay in Osseo. We felt it was something that he would have wanted us to do. It helped to be around people who knew about cancer. So we walked. We walked in his memory, we walked for ourselves as caregivers, and we walked for those still fighting. A week later, my daughter spoke as a caregiver at the relay in Clark County. We wanted to be with our family, our relay family, to thank them and the American Cancer Society for their support and care through our journey. When my husband had his stem cell transplant, we were able to stay at Hope Lodge. It's a hotel-style lodging service provided by the American Cancer Society. We stayed there for weeks at no cost. What a blessing this was for us. As a caregiver, it was such a relief to not have to worry about lodging details and expenses, especially during this difficult time. It was an amazing place, and we could focus more on his care. We were able to experience firsthand the benefits of the American Cancer Society. This is part of why we relay, to provide funding for such needed services. Thank you all for supporting the American Cancer Society so they can continue the fight against cancer through providing services and research. We are all in this fight together. Let us continue to care for one another. Thanks to each and every one of you for being here today, showing your support and showing that you care. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. Your stories are wonderful. Thank you for going through what you've gone through. I would like to say a thank you right now to Mary Johnson. Mary is the rock of the Relay for Life for Trempealeau County. I used to do quite a bit more, and she's taken over almost everything and has gotten everything organized. We went to a do-it-yourself relay a few years back, and since that do-it-yourself, the state hardly helps In fact, it seems like sometimes they kind of get in Mary's way. But she keeps smiling, she keeps plugging through, she finds a way to get our money online and our teams organized, and it just is really wonderful. So I'd ask that we give a round of applause to Mary for all of her hard work. As we move along here, we're going to do just a walk around for the survivors and then the survivors and caregivers. We're basically just going to kind of go down the first baseline, out to the grass, and around, and then back. And we're going to follow the Legion and our royalty. We're going to do a picture at some point. Should we do it first, or we usually do it first? I don't know if we want to do it on the bleachers or out here. Or, okay, Mary says out here, so Mary's in charge.
So survivors.
Yep, all of you survivors that would like to come out and if you can, you don't have to come. You don't have to walk. Love to have your picture, but if we can't, come on out, Robert.